Aloha everybody, shalom. We're here for the full moon activation and it's getting dark, so I may have to turn the light on here in a bit, but I'm really enjoying not having it on at the moment, so we're gonna flow with that. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Where in the world are you? As usual, I'm tuning in from the lovely Sedona, Arizona. And we're here for the full moon activation, which means we are coming to a point in our monthly cycle as individuals, but also as a collective consciousness, where the whole picture is being revealed to us as far as what we've been going through the last few weeks. You know, what has unfolded since the new moon, what has unfolded in our lives that is now coming to a pinnacle. And as this picture is revealed to us, we can really sit with it, take it in as best as possible, make sure we're as receptive as possible, make sure we're really opening up our minds and our hearts to receive the fullness of that image, so that we can see also all the layers. And then we just sit with that, we look at that, we have a whole week to look at that and analyze it, just trying to see it from every angle, taking it in. And then next week will be the final quarter, which is when we'll be able to integrate all this information. But the full moon week is really about receiving, really taking it in as best as possible. So don't forget about that. All right, so I'm shuffling the cards. Feel free to share this video while we're shuffling. Feel free to share it while we're live. In your favorite groups. Maybe you have a family member or friend who could really use a message of inspiration right now. We have Canada in the house, Australia, South Africa. Of course, you can share the recording when it's done if you prefer that. The recording will also go to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic, as usual. Ooh, thunder. We're gonna get some desert rain. All right, gonna shuffle the Hebrew cards. Look like this. And remember, each card, both in the tarot and the Hebrew cards, the Hebrew alphabet, each card represents a different piece of wisdom or a different archetype, a different piece of archetypal wisdom. Each card represents a different angle of the mind, a different angle of perspective. So when we're shuffling the deck, think about what that's actually doing, okay? Each card is representing a different perspective of your own mind. So you're touching all of those perspectives. You're making contact with all of them. You're lighting up all of those neural pathways. You're saying, hello, hello, activate, wake up, ready for our message. That's my cat, you guys, going nuts. Ready for this full moon activation. Have to be the mom, make sure that he's good. All right. All right, so we are just about shuffled. And really there are no rules about shuffling. It's all energy, it's all vibration, and it's all belief. So when you're shuffling, just tune in, relax, and feel when you're shuffling the cards. When does it feel complete for you? Don't look to a book or ask somebody else how to shuffle or when it feels complete or, you know, what special process they have. Feel it for yourself. I just go with my intuition and feel until I feel ready. And I have to at least touch them all once. That's just me. Okay, so beginning with the tarot. Thank you in advance, archetypes, faces of the one, for this message that's about to come through. Acknowledging right here, right now, in this moment, that each one of us are a part of that one. So giving thanks to one and all. The focus for the week, which is also the challenge and gift. something we can leave behind, something we're stepping out of now. And with the Hebrew cards, we'll pull an ally for the week. Beginning with the focus, the challenge, and the gift. 8 of Swords looks like this. As you can see, there's a woman here. She's bound up. There's all these swords right around her to set herself free. Check it out. So when it's a woman, it's speaking to our feminine nature. So remember, each archetype exists in every woman, man, child. So when it's a woman on the card, it's still in every man, right? Still in every male. And it's just talking, it's speaking to our feminine nature. So our receptive nature, our connection to source, our intuition, our emotions. And so there's here, as you can see with these bandages, it's showing a suppression of that feminine nature, a suppression of that intuition. Maybe being trapped by feelings, trapped by emotions, stuck because of some emotional state. It's the Suit of Swords, so it's challenges. And if you look to the cards before and after, remember they'll tell you the story of the one card of focus. So the 7 of Swords looks like a man who's delicately walking around, you could say walking on eggshells, navigating the swords. And that card was all about not recreating the same challenges for yourself, making sure that you tread wisely, so that when you do come to that next card, 7, now we have 8, when you do come to that inevitable place of challenge, you can remember that it's up to you to free yourself. It's up to you to make those changes within your consciousness, changes within your mind, and then act on those changes so that you can progress, so that you can move from the 8 to the 9. Remember, 9s are endings, so they're speaking to the ending of each of the suits. So the 9 of Swords is a man waking up from a nightmare, and he has his face buried in his hands, but he's waking up from the nightmare, so he's woken up at least, right? So the 9 is about ending that program once and for all that had you trapped, waking up from it, not yet moving from that space, but at least having the realization and waking up. So it would be very helpful right now, if this is the focus, to look at where in your life you feel stuck, where in your life you feel uncomfortable or hopeless or afraid. And remember the ultimate truth, that it is up to us to get ourselves out of that position, that it is within our consciousness that all of the tools lie. All we have to do is remember that responsibility and remember that power that we've been entrusted with, that true spiritual power that we have inside of us. And remember that it's you who got yourself here, and it's you who can get yourself out with your choices in thought, in speech, and in action. So it's about asking, where do I feel uncomfortable? Where do I feel stuck in whatever way? Fear, anxiety. And then saying, okay, it's time to wake up from this. It's enough already. So first you identify the 8 of Swords in your life, right? First you start there. And you notice where you're feeling like her. But remember, it's her, so it's speaking to your feminine nature, whether you're man, woman, child. It's speaking to your feminine nature. So where is your intuition being suppressed? And don't say, oh, it's because he did that to me, or because she's doing that to me. It's because I'm doing it to myself. Let's start saying that. I'm doing it to myself. Remember, victimization is one of the greatest causes of having that plateau on the spiritual path, having that plateau in your evolution. Okay, so don't just give up your power like that. Don't just say someone else is keeping me like this. No, like, acknowledge in what ways you're keeping yourself like that, and start there. Just start there, because that's the only thing you have control over anyways, your own choices. So ask, where do I feel stuck? That's your Eight of Swords, where you're feeling stuck. And then in your mind, begin to progress to the Nine of Swords, where you see yourself waking up from this nightmare. First, you have to believe it. You have to see it. You have to know that it can happen and that it will happen. See yourself waking up from this nightmare and understand that you can get yourself out of it. See yourself setting yourself free. What does it even feel like or look like on the other side? Have you been so trapped in your own feelings or your own fear or anxiety that you forget to even imagine what it is you do want or what it looks like on the other side? So signs that we're here, and we're on the more challenge end of the spectrum and not gift end of the spectrum, is when you're feeling powerless, when you're feeling hopeless, when you find that you're having a lot of thoughts of victimization. So if you can be that observer and observe your thoughts, what you'll see in there, if you're feeling this challenge right now, is a lot of this self-hate, self-deprecation, giving up your power in whatever way. That's all this right here. That's this Eight of Swords. However you're giving up your power and victimizing yourself, it's time to make those hard decisions to pull yourself out of it. It's time to start thinking more positively, and it's time to then start saying those things you need to say and doing those things you need to do that will courageously get you out of the situation. But first, it starts in here. You got to think more positively. Until you can have that positive thought, you will not have the courage and strength of will to say those really brave things you got to say to yourself, even inside your own head. You won't be brave enough to face those truths if you can't start thinking positively. You have to know there's a way out. You have to have that hope. You have to trust that, because only then will you be able to act on those things that have been so hard for you to act on and approach those situations that have been incredibly intimidating. So, you'll be stuck as long as you want to be stuck, but it's time to say whatever you need to say, do whatever you need to do, start thinking more positive thoughts, and move ahead. Get out of this space, get out of this funk. Before I move on, I really want to talk about also what that looks like in a positive sense. So on the gift end of the spectrum, which means you're facing this challenge like everybody else right now in your own ways, but you're succeeding each time you meet this challenge. What that starts to look like, and this, I'm really glad we're talking about this because this is the best part. This is the part that gives you hope to keep going. Is better for you guys? So the positive end of it, when you start acing this challenge, will look like this. I am so empowered. Nobody can stop me. Only I can set myself free. I'm never actually stuck. Haha, look at that. I'm never actually stuck. I am always free. I've always been free, and I always will be. That's what your mind will look like. That's what will be going on in there if you're acing this challenge that we're all currently going through. And look for others who are behaving that way, because it's good to be around that energy. It's good to be around that positive energy, to observe it, to experience and witness it so that you can experience it even secondhand, because we are one. And if you carry that oneness into that moment of observation or witness of another who is successful on their spiritual path, then it does something to you. You receive that medicine. It's a gift. It's a blessing. So stay around those people as often as you can. Look for those people. Seek them out. Seek out the podcast, etc. Okay, so some other ways that you can tell that you're really acing this challenge is when you start to have thoughts like, oh yeah, none of this is real. When suddenly your emotions that were so heavy just a minute ago become very light. You start to return to the bigger picture. You start to let go of all of those attachments and material entanglement, at least within your mind, and then you feel light. Or you're just sick of feeling uncomfortable. You're once and for all just absolutely tired of it, and you're ready to make those new decisions. It's almost like you could be numb right now, but it's in a positive way. It's like you can't play your own game anymore. You know what I'm saying? So those are all signs that you're moving on. And remember, the gift end of it, the blessing end of it, doesn't always look like cuddles and comfort and butterflies and roses. You know, sometimes the signs that you're acing the challenge can still be uncomfortable. So for example, if you're finally saying those things that you've held back on saying because you've finally admitted to yourself that they're necessary to say, you're finally acting on it, it doesn't mean you're not going to be uncomfortable. You might be very uncomfortable, extremely. In fact, you're doing it and your worst fear is coming true. You're incredibly uncomfortable. This sucks. It's super awkward. You know, you're whatever it is you're finally getting to. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, just like you thought. But you know what? You make it through it because you face the truth. And then that discomfort is still an expression of truth. And so where it leads you is a space of blessing and is a space of more sustainable comfort and joy. So no, this 8 to 9 of Swords, it's a challenging place to be. Let's not sugarcoat it. But there's still an even deeper, more fierce sense of purposefulness and accomplishment and confidence and self-love, which is born from all that. That comes from this opportunity of moving from the 8 to the 9. Do you know what we're talking about with the 8 to the 9 of Swords? Because remember, the cards we pull in a reading or in a layout are just the access point to the rest of the story. The whole wheel is always present. So yes, we pulled the 8, but we're progressing in the story here, right? That's what we all want, is to progress on the path. So then we have to bring that 9 of Swords into it, and it's very important. And understanding this sequence, because any 2 cards is a sequence in the tarot. 1 card tells the whole story too. Okay, and we have chapters, okay? So the 8 of Swords to the 9 of Swords, that sequence is specifically representing, and we can all relate to this, a time on our path where we are stuck. And it's not pleasant, and it's not fun, and it's not enjoyable. We're stuck. And then the 9, we wake up from it. And it's, again, not always very pleasant and happy, but there's, again, a deeper sense of accomplishment in making it through that challenge of getting unstuck. It's like, oh, I still have to clean up the mess, but gee, am I glad to be out of there. Anything's better than that space. And I'm progressing. And I have my power back, okay? So the 8 to 9 of Swords can be very uncomfortable, very painful. You know, for example, you're in this is a really clear example too. You're in an abusive relationship for years, and then you wake up from that nightmare. Still a lot of processing to do. Still very heartbreaking. Still a lot of emotions, but you're free and you're not in that space anymore, and it's not going to be prolonged. And in time, you will heal and you'll be better than you ever were. So it's like there's this bittersweet element, you know, there's still so much to clean up, such a mess to clean up, but it's still incredibly empowering. And that's a feeling that goes with you beyond this lifetime. It's a feeling that stays with you forever. It's a strength that you've cultivated through your own conscious application of your will to get yourself there. Okay, so this is a really important time. This is very important what we're going through. Wherever you feel stuck, now more than ever, you're being called to get yourself unstuck, to wake up once and for all. Just make the changes you have to make and understand that it might not be so comfortable, but it will be so worth it. And what we're leaving behind. And we have another 8. 8 of Pentacles. Okay, and this is the card of work, craftsmanship. So it's like, in a very obvious example, it could look like you have been giving too much of your time and energy to material things, giving too much of your awareness, of your precious awareness, to money. Or maybe you're even doing the thing that you love to do for money, but you're forgetting why you're doing it in that moment. Okay? For some of us, it could also mean perfectionism. Working way too hard on my projects and on everything, making sure everything's perfect. I have to be perfect until I get myself to a place of feeling stuck. Okay, so there's lots of different ways you could be experiencing this right now, but this is something we're coming away from. We're having to get out of the busyness of whatever it is we're doing to be still just long enough, however long that should be determined by you, but to be still for just long enough to get ourselves unstuck. In order to do that, to get ourselves unstuck, we have to be able to see clearly. How will we ever see clearly when we're burying ourselves in projects? Look, however good you may deem them to be, however righteous or positive for the collective you may say these projects are, maybe some of you are working on the most selfless projects, and God bless, thank you, amazing. And also, how are you doing? Also, how's your heart? How's your mind? Because then nothing matters. You are the one. And so you could literally be doing a project for the whole world, for the one, but you are that same one. And so if you're neglecting yourself, or you're neglecting some part of your path, or you're distracting yourself with work so much so that you forget about your own inner work that needs to be done, the own inner path, or you're compromising some part of your nature that wants to be expressed because of the time, for example, that this project is taking from you, okay? It's not healthy. So what we need to let go of is all the busyness and the perfectionism and the loud and the chaos, and we need to come back to that quiet stillness, okay? It's almost like I'm thinking of her, and behind that bandage, it's dark, right? She can't see anything. Now, on the outside, it looks like she's really struggling, but if she just closes her eyes, in her mind, she's a blank board of infinity, just nothing, just awareness. And it's almost like this is a metaphor for how we're feeling, right? That's what the cards always are. It's a metaphor for how we're feeling, but when we close our eyes and we go back into that space of darkness, that space of unlimited potential, we can really remember who we are. And we can really then, once we really remember who we are, we can then return back to the outside world and the world of work and all of our projects, having integrated whatever wisdom we received in that space of stillness and in that space of expansiveness when we closed our eyes and meditated or sat in the dark or just sat in quiet. So we first need to remove ourselves from the busyness of the world and from whatever projects we've been getting lost in. And that could also just be a relationship, whatever it is that's been consuming all of your energy. It's time to hone it in, bring back your energy, bring back your presence, tune in and ask yourself what needs are not being met right now and what choices can I make to have them be met. In fact, what choices have I been making that have been ensuring I don't have my needs met? And how can I shift that? And the Hebrew ally of the week. And it's pouring out there. I don't know if you guys hear it. It's the Resh. The Resh is symbolized by, because every Hebrew letter has a hieroglyphic symbol associated with it. The Resh is symbolized by a head, Rosh. Okay, and the Resh is the 20th letter of the alphabet, and therefore it's related to Arcanum 20, Judgment. And it's so clear to me how these are related. And remember, all the cards are all related. They're relatives to us even. They're the building blocks of all reality. So they can be combined in any way, sort of like the periodic table of elements. The weather's throwing things off. So the Hebrew letters can be put together in any combination. Tarot cards as well can be put together in any sequence, any combination, and they can combine to tell a specific story. Just like the elements, okay? They in fact represent the elements. So these three are telling a very clear story to me. 2 8s, and then we have the Resh. I'm gonna hold them all up while I say this. How will we be able to get ourselves free, to set ourselves free from our own victimization, from our own poor choices? How will we ever be able to wake up to the poor choices we've been making, get ourselves back on track? We'll never be able to do that if we keep distracting ourselves with busyness, with just burying ourselves in projects, work, forgetting who we really are. So how can we even have that clarity of intention and right use of will through our process of working and giving our energy? It's like in any moment that you're giving yourself your energy in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, spiritually, it's not fully wholly you because you're not in alignment, because you're stuck. Some part of you is being held back. So what could be a better ally than the Resh, the head of the body, which is like the thinker, and the crown, which is where that, we experience those sacred revelations from the divine mother and father, right? The head of the house, who are they really but the mother, father, God, the one, the two that are in sacred union within you and within all of life. So it's saying, Resh, the head, also Arcanum 20, judgment. It's the mother and father's voice that will guide us. Only God can judge, right? Well, this is God within you as the mother and father looking through your own eyes. So ask yourself, what would that perspective, the divine mother and father, the archetypal, perfect, divine mother and father, say about this part of the process? It's time to get out of the busyness, okay? To be able to really take a good look at ourselves from the head. Okay, it's not like I'm looking down on you. You don't want to do that because you don't want to beat yourself up. Shame and guilt are the lowest frequencies. But it's more like the head, as in one that you're not separate from. The head, the top, the highest consciousness of which you are one. You're one with that force. So it's saying access that within yourself. Don't give up your power, because then you're going to fall further into this. Like, for example, if you're a part of a religion that will punish you for this, you're going to, actually the result, you're just going to fall further into this. But if instead you understand the true concept of the mother, father, God, or the divine mother, father, divine feminine and masculine, and you allow yourself to release that unity, that perspective within your heart of the mother and father, right? It's like, this is you, the head, the mother, father, live in your heart. You pause for a moment to set them free from you, to turn and face you. But it's really still you, because we're all one. And now you're looking at yourself from the higher perspective, from the bigger picture perspective, from the bird's eye view. You know what I'm saying? Not, I'm looking down on you. Bird's eye view, big picture perspective. Still you. So there's no room for that condescending nature. There's no room for that because we know we're one, right? So this is the mother-father perspective looking back at you, but really it's looking through your own eyes because it's both. It's you and this. Getting a little trippy, okay? So you look at yourself from those eyes, and remember, those eyes are compassionate. They're all compassionate. It's the light of God. It's the all virtuous light, which is the light of compassion. So again, no shame or guilt possible here because we're one and we're compassion. We are the light of compassion. So you begin to analyze or judge. Don't think of that word negatively. You begin to analyze or judge from this highest perspective with love and understanding and right intention, righteous intention. What a proper mother and father would have for their divine child, right? You look from that perspective and you guide self. And you say, through these eyes, I can see, yes, I've been stuck here, here, and here in my life, and it's okay that I was, because I have understanding and compassion for myself, because from this bird's eye view, big picture perspective, the head, the top, the rosh, the resh, I'm seeing what my faults were, and it's okay. Free. Sorry about the disconnection, you guys. We're having a storm here at Monsoon. All right. So this is what this story is telling. Stop with the busyness. Time to really look at yourself. If you're in this consciousness, and I mean on the negative end of the spectrum, if you're just busying yourself, you're never going to be able to access this higher perspective, the rosh, the head, the top. Okay, so we got to chill for a second to access this perspective, to then judge ourselves, analyze ourselves and our path from that perspective, and then guide ourselves from that perspective. Okay, from that higher perspective. So this is the ally of the week, the resh, which is the head. And it's not just the Godhead. Don't just think of it as something separate from you. It's the Godhead that you are one with. You are a microcosm of that macrocosmic Godhead. So you got to see it like this. And through that understanding, through that oneness and connection, you will be able to access that guidance from the Most High. And from there, you can take the mother, father's advice from your own heart and set yourself free. So I'm with you all for the work this week for the full moon. I just want to remind you that we still have the final quarter. So next week there'll be more. There'll be more each day as it unfolds. Okay, so just stay attuned to this message. Carry it in the forefront of your awareness. Remember the Resh, because that's the ally of the week. You might want to look it up. You could type in Google Hebrew letter R-E-I-S-H. Remember, it's flipped right here on the camera, so you want to Google it to get the proper reflection of it. And then you may want to make it your phone background, or write it, draw it, connect to the consciousness of the ancient letter Resh, the ancient Hebrew letter Resh, or Arcanum 20, Judgment. You can find your favorite version of the Judgment tarot card. But make sure it's 20 and make sure it's connected to the Resh, because in modern tarot it's manipulated and it will give you the false correlation, the manipulated correlation. If you want to know the proper correlations, they're all in my book, Royal Path 1, all in the major arcanum cards and the Hebrew letter correlations. Number 2 is on the minor arcanum and the elemental suits, going beyond those manipulations in modern tarot. So remember, this is the ally of the week. So you might want to do that. Okay, so I'm with you all in the work as we don't yet try to make so many moves. Okay, remember, we're trying to not be so busy. But this week, for the full moon, before we come to that final quarter, just really take in this image of where we're stuck. How can I be that head? And from the mother side, be compassionate, be intuitive. And from the father side of that head, how can I also be logical about these places that I'm stuck? How can I also take action on these places that I'm stuck? Moving away from all this busyness, okay? Then next week we can really integrate it. But just be with it in your thoughts, be with it in your mind first. It's a meditation for this full moon. This full moon is illuminating everything. It's the best time to look at, where am I stuck? And remember, I'm seeing it from the top perspective, the perspective of the Most High, the Godhead, okay? And I'm seeing through Mother, Father, through masculine and feminine. I want to see intuitively. I want to see logically. I want to know why I've been feeling the way I've been feeling, interpret my feelings about it and be empowered through those emotions. And I also want to act rationally. I want to have a plan, a strategy, okay? So these are the different ways through the polarities, through the eyes of the Mother Father, that you want to judge or analyze where you're stuck so that you can trust you will get out of it. You just got to do a little meditating on what those perspectives are on the situation so that you can receive that best guidance and then move forward with it. Okay, so less busy this week for the full moon. Really look at where you're stuck from those higher perspectives. And next week will be the time to take more action. I'm with you all in this work. Thank you so much for being here and activating this message with all of us. Again, if you have any friends or family who would love to join us in this work, get in the activation portal, please send them this video. Again, it's going to go to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic, so you could share it with people who aren't on Facebook. We do have 2 private groups on Facebook. One of them is called the Archetypal Alliance, where we share about things like this. The other private group is called Shabbat Crew, Shabbat. You can find them on my page here, Royal Path Tarot on Facebook. The Shabbat Crew is where we share about Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah Shabbat every week. Torah is the original tarot, you guys. So I'm very passionate about this group as well. If you want to join us on that journey, Shabbat Crew. And I'll be posting in there tomorrow for the current Torah story and what that message is for the week. So join us. And again, you guys, my books are available. My video online course for the Major Arcanum is available. Very different from the book. It goes into the art and symbolism within the occult and specifically the tarot. So ask me about how to get my videos. And as well, please reach out if you want a one-on-one reading. Just email me at info@royalpathtarot.com or find my email here on this page. Or just private message me. All right, you guys, thank you and shalom. See you tomorrow in Shabbat Crew.